Dr. CB.
Yo, Donnie, what's happening?
Not much, just living that life, you know.
I believe that on a Thursday, Wednesday?
Thursday.
On Thursday.
A great Thursday. I mean, you can't have 2 days at once.
I don't know.
I do.
Okay.
You can't have 2 days at once.
That just sounds like an idea. It just sounds like an idea of yours.
Yeah. Well, I feel pretty good about that idea. How are you doing?
Oh, man, things are well. It's the middle of October.
Yeah.
Beautiful time of year.
Are you conflating Wednesday and Thursday, or what's going on there?
Conflating the two? No, just combining them, referencing something that happened a little while ago that no one will have any reference for. So that'll be great for them. It's totally lost.
I mean, seems on brand.
Seems on brand for sure.
Yeah.
I don't even want to provide the context at this point. You know what I mean? Just leave it hanging.
Leave it hanging. Yeah. How are you feeling? It's mid-October, which means that the Funky Monkeys season has concluded.
Yeah, it came and went, man. That was quick. Last time we talked, we were 1-0.
Yeah.
Riding high.
Yeah, you guys were undefeated. Top of the F League.
Yeah.
Top of the world.
Top of the world, really. Yeah, there was a lot. I think even that intro for Andrew was talking about the wave of enthusiasm we were riding.
Yeah. You did mention that you tied your win total of all previous seasons combined in that one win.
Yep.
And you all acted like it was just normal.
Yeah, it was like pack up the bats. We'll be here next week to do our business.
So did that strategy work out? How did the remainder of the F League Funky Monkeys fall season go?
Well, we ended up winning 3 games total.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Oh, dang. On the come up.
On the come up, man. So the trajectory is going in the desired direction, we'll say. Mm-hmm. But after winning the first one, so we went probably 2-8 after that or something, 2-7. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We certainly lost more than we won. Yeah.
Baby steps,
man. That's what I'm saying. Desired trajectory is going well. It was 0 wins, 1 win, or 0 win, 1 win, 3 wins.
Yeah. So yeah, you went 0, 1, 3. Are you doing all prime numbers? So would it be
primes,
7?
So 7 is next year.
Yeah.
That'll put us in the playoffs.
Or maybe odds. So maybe 5 next year. 1, 3, 5.
Yeah, 1, 3, 5. If we keep that, yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
I don't want to go to 7. That seems a little drastic.
Maybe Fibonacci sequence where it's 1 plus 2 is 3.
Okay.
And so 3 plus 4 is 7.
It could be any of those. We'll go odds, primes, Fibonacci, Da Vinci Code, wherever you want to go with this. I'm open.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what we know is who knows what the future record is going to be, but so far it's been progressing in the right direction. So you're saying Funky Monkeys growth, a lot of growth.
A lot of growth. Yeah. I remember last time we were saying how many unforced errors per inning, and we averaged out to about maybe 5 to 7 after we divided or whatever. Yeah. So that continued. That didn't really get much better. As the season went on, there were, I think the tough thing with City League softball is the accumulation of injuries.
Oh.
Yeah.
This is a phenomenon I'm not familiar with. So it's common? Injury is common.
I don't know if it's league-wide or just kind of isolated to the Funky Monkeys.
Yeah. What kind of injuries happen?
We got hammies, calves, Achilles. We got... what else we got?
So the legs are really at risk.
Yeah, it sounds like the running aspect of softball really takes a toll on the human body, the middle-aged human body. Maybe the throwing too. There might have been some elbows and shoulders in there. A lot of ice baths, man.
Do you guys ice your shoulders after pitching a game?
Yeah, you see everyone all iced up, taped up and stuff. Yeah.
How did you fare? Did you come out injury-free? Or
I'd say for the most part, yeah. No tendinitises, hamstrings.
Ah, good.
Still have all my limbs intact.
Okay.
Not dismembered, I believe. Yeah.
So 3-0 on the come up.
Yeah.
Growth, a lot of growth.
We're going in the right direction, man. We'll see. There was some talk that this might have been it, man. Yeah. We might have won that last game.
Oh, and I'm not going to entertain that.
Let's not
provide a platform for that.
Yeah, see, I was thinking that maybe we could use the platform to, effectively shut down that idea.
Yeah,
really gain
let's do that
a momentum.
Okay, let's bring it back onto the platform.
Okay, it's back. Thanks for not fully ridding the platform of the Funky Monkeys. It remains on the platform.
What do we got on the docket today?
Oh, man. We are going beyond flag.
How about that segue?
I think so. So seggy. Today we're going beyond flag with the multifaceted, ultra brilliant, eclectic, and highly motivated Cindy Payne.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Not wrong. Cindy is the executive director for the Northern Arizona Cancer Support Community of Arizona. She holds 30 plus years experience in administration, program and project development, and change management. Her educational background includes holding a Master's of Education and Counseling from the Harvard of the West.
Go Fumble-Lax.
Fumble-Lax. Her work history also includes spending large amounts of time in the lovely manicured buildings of NAU in a variety of different positions, which included being an Associate Dean of Students and a Program Coordinator and Faculty for the Counseling and Student Affairs Program in the Educational Psychology Department. Following, in the midst of the COVID pandemic, she took a career leap into her current position she holds with the Cancer Support Community of Arizona.
Yeah, and that's actually much of what our conversation focused on was her time in that role with CSCNA, the vision that she holds for that group, and the way she's drawn upon her previous experiences, her networking, her personality, her strengths to maximize opportunities and strengths for the benefit of the people associated with that organization.
Come on, she's a maximizer.
She's a maximizer. So she reveals in this episode, you'll hear more about her, one of her strengths, according to a StrengthsFinder.
Yeah. And I think you and I, we did the same, right?
Yeah, So obviously I wouldn't want you to forget that I forget what my number one is,
right?
But we know what my number two is.
It was irrelevant to the prominence and the prestige, but the number two, StrengthsFinder.
Yeah. And the prominence with which strength number two seems to show up.
Yeah, just in terms of count.
The pervasiveness.
The pervasiveness of your second strength, which is judgment. Yeah.
I'm like a good judger.
Yeah, you're judge a lot.
I'm good at judging.
I don't know that it means you have good judgment. It just means that you're good at judging in terms of the amount of judging you do. You're proficient at it. Lots of judging.
I'm a proficient judger.
You're a proficient in terms of quantity judger.
Judgmental.
Yeah, a judgmental
judger.
Judgy McJudgerson,
it's
man.
A strength.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember what your strengths were?
I can't remember. I thought it was somewhere in the I don't know, that triad of brother, homie, friend.
Brother,
strength?
homie, friend. The brother, homie, friend strength. Yeah. Yeah, I remember that popped up on yours. I don't think it was the top one, though.
I thought it was top.
No, it was
BHF?
What was it? It was down 170th.
Dang, I didn't think it was that low. 170? Let's just take a moment to acknowledge how many strengths I do possess, though. Brother, homie, friend is 170.
Well, really, it's a relative statement. Yeah, at that point, it's a weakness.
So, at that point, it crosses over a line, and brother, homie, friend is no longer a strength.
Yeah. My ability to judge my own person.
Cindy Payne.
Okay. But brother, friend, homie, that was a good one.
Yeah.
Not your top one.
Do you remember what my top one was?
Of course I do.
Maybe memory was your first. You got good memory, man. That's a strength. Memory, I remember a lot and I judge a lot. My name is Dan.
I think they correlate. I think one facilitates the other.
Okay.
Of course I remember yours. Yours was regressor. It was most regressed.
The best regressed?
Most regressed.
Most regressed. I think best regressed.
Yeah. And I think similar to how prominently and pervasively displayed my strength of judgment is, regression is really on the surface for you.
Yeah. Also a proficient regressor.
Yeah. I mean, for example, this morning, you had your pants rolled up to your mid-calf like a capri, wearing a flannel and a backpack, and you hopped on your bike to ride down the road.
Like a real 12-year-old.
Yeah. And you got your hat brim flipped up.
Yep.
Yeah, regressor.
Like a real 4-year-old.
Do you get any feedback in your life about
being I was telling Jamie the other day, she was asking me what I was going to do with some time I had during the day while the girls were in school, and I said, well, I think I'm going to go for a run, then I'll go fishing, and I'm hoping when the girls are done with school, maybe we'll go for a bike ride. And her response to me is like, what are you, 5? So I think you're onto something, man.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I'm not onto something. Your StrengthsFinder said you're
this literally
regressor.
Said best regress.
Yeah. I'm just restating facts from memory.
Yeah. I remember you had this saying of suppress to success. And I think mine might be regress to success.
There we go.
Yeah. Come on.
Yeah. At any rate, thanks so much for tuning in as we go beyond flag with
Welcome to Beyond Flag, a Beyond the Pines production, created by, with, and for the people of Flagstaff, building connection in the town we love. We are your hosts,
Dr. Daniel J. Phillips
and Cody Bayless, also known as Dr. Chinchilla Nice Nice. Thanks for tuning in as we go beyond flag, straight from the dunny of our observatory.
Growing up, I can remember, but I can't tell you what year it was or where I was, but I can remember the person looking at me who said, "You really have a radio voice. You should be on radio." And I was like, what an odd thing just to say to me, but I kept it.
Yeah.
So it must have meant something.
I can hear it.
Yeah.
That radio voice.
There we go.
Yeah. I had people tell me I have a face for radio.
Yeah, they're not wrong. You have a beautiful face for radio. One of the best.
Not wrong.
Yeah.
And a voice for television. Is that the other side?
Yeah.
Maybe it'll be my second post-retirement career.
Yeah, radio.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Let's live into that.
Who knows? Probably pays maybe better than nonprofit work.
Possibly. Rumor is that nonprofit work, they don't bring in a lot of profit.
Yeah, this is so true.
Kind of set themselves up with that.
That's where the non goes in. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
For sure.
We're so glad to have you sitting here with us today. Would you mind jumping in and telling us a little bit about what it looks like over at CSCAZ?
Absolutely. Thank you. It's great to be here with both of you today. Cancer Support Community Arizona is a local nonprofit in Flagstaff, but we're an affiliate. We're part of an international network all over the world, and we started in Phoenix in 1998 and opened here in Flagstaff in 2021. I very quickly learned that cancer is the leading cause of death in Coconino County. And so knew that we were really needed by folks. And so if you imagine walking in, getting a cancer diagnosis, joining a club that you never thought you would have to join, absolutely nothing about it. Don't know what your cancer means, what the prognosis is for that in 2024 or whenever you got your diagnosis. And so we look at Cancer Support Community Arizona as being 50% of what a new patient needs. 50% is the medical team, and they do all of their medical miracles that have really decreased death because of cancer. Death as a result of a cancer diagnosis has really, really, really gone down. I saw a wonderful report just yesterday really talking about that again. But we're the other 50%. We're the psychosocial, the head and the heart. Learning what my cancer means, learning about the diagnosis, learning what typically the path is going to look like, joining a support group so that I can learn from other people who are walking a path very similar to the path that I'm walking, getting some one-on-one mentoring or counseling from people, joining a healthy lifestyles group because now I know I need to pay more attention to what I eat and what I drink, the movement that I have in my life, some regular movement, maybe a mind-body class where I'm doing some yoga and some meditation. And so we invite people in, again, to the club that they never wanted to join, but we're there and we love on people. We surround people with a big hug of support and love so that they know that they're not doing this on their own. And one of my favorite things about Cancer Support Community is that slogan, so that no one does cancer alone, because that's one of the worst things we can do to ourselves. And that's what our culture has taught us, is that be strong and walk through everything by yourself. You don't need to burden other people. And that's the worst thing we can do as cancer patients.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking, like, my best guess would be that historically the psychosocial aspect of recovering from cancer or living with cancer has been neglected or dismissed.
Absolutely, yeah. 1988 is when Cancer Support Community started as the Wellness Center in LA. And a guy who was an attorney, his wife got cancer, and he looked around the LA community to find support for her and couldn't find any. So he went back to school, earned his PhD in psychology and psychotherapy, and opened what was originally called the Wellness Center for that very reason. The medical team is really busy doing their thing, right? And so there needs to be another group of people that's doing the psychosocial side.
So that was 1988 and 1998. It jumped to Arizona.
Yes.
Okay. And then 2021 here in Flagstaff. How did it come to be in Flagstaff? How did the connection, do they have hubs in different cities? And if so, how did Flagstaff become one of them? How did that work?
So as the team down in the valley looked around the state and trying to decide where's the first place they wanted to open, a satellite office Flagstaff really raised up as the area that needed it the most, because there was nothing up here that was going on like that. And there was already some programming around the University of Arizona Cancer Center. And so Tucson was another area they'd thought about, but they already had some coverage. And so they moved one of their Phoenix professionals to Flagstaff to open the office in early 2020. And you know what happened then? Everything closed down because of COVID. And so it got delayed for a while. Like the whole rest of the world, everything became virtual. And so within a week or two, I'm told, CSC went virtual and on the Zoom platform and offered every single thing, support groups, classes, one-on-one mentoring, whatever it was. And so the woman who had come to Flagstaff to open our office moved up here, but her mom got a dementia diagnosis and she really wanted to be with her mom. And so they posted the position. I had retired from full-time work at NAU. I was still teaching over there in the counseling department, so that's my bias, that's my preference. And I saw this job post on everything. I kept seeing it and seeing it and seeing it, and I thought, oh my goodness, that looks so interesting, but no nonprofit experience whatsoever. Finally, I was convicted to pick up the phone and call, and the CEO down in Phoenix said, we're already interviewing for that, but if the interviews don't go well, I'll give you a call in a couple of weeks. And so she called and said, could we interview you tomorrow? And I said, sure. And what they had figured out in that interim between the beginning of 2020, and I think it was maybe September or October when I interviewed, was that they needed somebody in Flagstaff who had all the relationships, that they felt like they could teach me how to run a nonprofit agency. But they needed somebody who understood Flagstaff in northern Arizona and wasn't a Phoenician and just coming here and trying to replicate what was going on in Phoenix. And so having been at NAU forever and having relationships at the hospital and a little bit in the medical community, I seemed like the right person for that. And so we opened up here in Flagstaff. We've always had a location in Tuba City also. Our headquarters had established a relationship in Tuba City because of an interest there. In Tuba City currently, Tuba City Regional Medical Healthcare Corporation has the only oncology department on native land in the country. Wow. And so CSC knew we needed to be in Tuba City. So that got turned over to us too. Because of my work at NAU, I had a lot of relationships there and knew a little bit more probably than the average guy about what was going on in Tuba City and what was needed up there. And so just that outreach into a rural part of the state, identified as Flagstaff, identified as all of northern Arizona, so that we're reaching out to the indigenous population very intentionally because cancer rates are the highest in the state of Arizona with our indigenous brothers and sisters.
Yeah, you mentioned something early on to kind of jump back to that I think would really be interesting to listen to is you said that systemically or socially we're kind of taught to go through things individually. I'd be curious, what did you mean by that? And maybe specifically with cancer or more generally?
Yeah, well, we're such an individualistic society, right? You know, people like to say, I made it on my own, you know, and I did all of that because of my hard work. And so because we've seen that modeled for us since we were kids and heard people's stories across society and culture about being an individual, we feel like when we are made to reveal a weakness. And I think many people would identify a chronic illness like cancer as a weakness, that we don't want to share that with people. We want to appear to be stronger than that. And so this thing has moved into my body, and I don't understand why, and I don't know what to do about it. So I'm going to close myself in and off. We've had people who have come in and said, I'll only come in as long as I know that nobody else is going to be in there at the same time, because I don't want my community to know that I have cancer. Maybe I'm a business owner in Flagstaff, and I don't want people to question the quality of the work that I do or my business acumen while I have cancer. And so I'm not going to tell anybody. And so I think we've learned those things from society and from our culture, and we all carry that burden in absolutely ridiculous ways. We've separated ourselves a lot of time from our family. And so, I could use myself as an example. I moved here to Flagstaff, and all the rest of my family still lives in Texas, which is where I grew up. And so now I don't have family that I could fall back on here to support me in the way that we used to when we stayed very close to our families. We would have that. But the number of people who come in who are here on their own or with their own family that they've established here, so maybe they have teenagers or kids that are even younger than that, and they're responsible for that. And everybody gets to decide, am I going to even tell them? Am I going to tell my kids, or is it going to freak my kids out? And so we then don't rely on community in the way 100 years ago we had to rely on community. And so people want to do it on their own. And of course, at Cancer Support Community, we respect people's decisions. I don't try to tell people, you have to call your mom and dad and tell them, you have to tell everybody. But eventually, as I get to know somebody closer, I might go back and revisit that and give them some stories about why it's important to let people in. And so in the meantime, while they're not telling their family or their business colleagues or whoever it is, they can come into CSC and find family there. We'll fill that role for somebody as long as they are trying to do this on their own, more or less. And then 3 months from now or 9 months from now or whatever seems most appropriate, then we'll go back and revisit that and say, are you ready to maybe bring some other people in on this who love you and would probably, obviously, I don't know everybody's familial background, but most people probably would love to help you carry that load.
Yeah, I guess I hear you describing that you very much honor a person's autonomy and decision-making around
absolutely.
who they want to inform, that sort of thing, but also offer a network or a community of people who are willing to support. And what are the ways in which you do that? What would that look like for a person?
Yeah. So I already claimed my bias earlier. One of the very first things I encourage people to do is to join a support group, because now you're surrounded by people who are on that same path. Not everybody follows the exact same path, but everybody understands the fear that you have, the laying awake at night wondering what comes next, the side effects that come with some of the treatments, and they get all of that. And so the group can say, somebody might say, my arm is really sore and I don't understand why my arm is so sore. And somebody else can say, have you seen a lymphedemist? And they're like, I don't even know what that word means, And so they explain to one another what that's like. One of the groups that meets in person here in Flagstaff every Tuesday evening is our breast cancer support group. And so women then who have breast cancer are asked, do you want to have one breast removed, both breasts removed, no surgery at all? Then do you want to have surgery with implants to rebuild your breast? And I've seen women take another new participant by the hand, walk into our wig salon or our bathroom, and take off their shirt and say, this is what that looks like, and this is what that looks like. And so no matter how much love and support you might be getting from your family who's trying harder than they've tried on anything, they can't do that for you, right? We've got a men's support group that meets on Zoom, and the reason why it meets on Zoom is because it's got men from all over the state in it, and that allows everybody to be in there. And the reason why we have that is because a really good friend of mine from NAU, we worked at NAU forever together, Rich Bowen came and found me one day and said, I heard about your new job, Cindy Payne, and you need to open a men's support group. Rich's wife, Marissa, was I think her third bout with cancer at this time. So Rich and Marissa had been living this life. And he said, we're tired of joining support groups where women tell us what to think and what to say. We need to have our own support group where men can just be themselves and, bottle up the emotions or show the emotions or whatever that guy needs to do, and then be challenged by other men who are on that same path. And so those are the kinds of things that I think come out of that, just as a couple of examples. We have interns from NAU. I've got social work interns, public health interns, nursing, pre-med, psychology, counseling, PhD students who sit. I have one intern that sits in each support group, and they do the behind-the-scenes research. So a couple of weeks ago in our Native American support group, one of the women said, when I was walking out of the doctor's office today, they gave me this whole thing of weed. What the hell am I supposed to do with this? And so the intern went and did all this research on medical marijuana and marijuana as a treatment for cancer. And during the week, she sent all of that she had found to this cancer patient who had no idea. She wasn't wanting to say yes, but she also wasn't wanting to say no. She was wanting to be educated to figure out, why did someone in the medical community encourage me to do this? And she didn't ask the questions at the time, so the intern went and did all of the research. So those are a couple of examples of things that we will do to, surround patients with love and community, to let them know. We have a participant right now who comes in once or twice a week and sits on the couch in the office and does her work because she just doesn't want to be by herself in her apartment and knows she can sit there. I'll pop up and say, hey, how's it going? That's my, hey, did you have something you wanted to talk to me about? And if it is like, oh, I'm just trying to do this report that's due at work, then I go back to my office. And if it's something else, then I sit there and talk. Yeah.
Yeah, that was one of the things. You came in and introduced some of your services over at Beyond the Pines.
Yeah.
And one of the things you talked about is trying to create a space physically there.
Yeah.
So you're talking about creating a lot of emotional space or even validation in providing either these counseling groups, support groups, or the one-on-one interactions that happen as a result of the support groups. But you also create a space where people are welcome to come in.
Absolutely. Yeah. I was really interested when I started. Everything was interview over the phone. I'd never seen the CSC house down in Phoenix, but everybody talked about it as a home. And I could see it on the internet. I could see it on the CSC website. And it's this beautiful old historic home that they had bought in the downtown hospital district. And so I knew that I wanted, even though we're in a business building in Flagstaff, I wanted it to feel like home. And so we've got pillows and lamps. We don't turn on the overhead lights. We keep the lamps on, and a couch and a papasan chair that's really comfy, and rolly chairs and support groups so people can roll around the room if they want to do that. I try to keep some sort of light jazz music going in the background so that it just feels really relaxing and comfortable. Yeah. I think everybody who is visiting us is also visiting a medical oncology office. And I want it to feel as opposite of that as it possibly can, right?
Yeah.
Like you go in there and you're totally stressed out and you're getting a medical opinion meeting with a doctor. And I want it to feel really different than that. And so We have one of those gigantic, I don't know what it is, 6 feet by 8 feet or something, llamas on the wall that people can color. Because color is shown to reduce stress. And so come in and color the llama, you know, and those kinds of things. In each room, we've got something. We've got the story from Japan of the 1,000 cranes. We have 1,000 cranes that are on picture frames in our office that our original group of volunteers did, and the story's there. So people can realize, oh, you know, cancer's been around really long time. People have been dealing with this for a really long time. So, yeah, and then we've got a kids' room. And so if somebody's coming over for a support group and they have a child that they want to bring with them, the kids' room looks like a kids' room where they can go in and they can play. They can color and put stuff up on the wall. There's a big whiteboard there. There's tons of beautiful Disney characters on the whiteboard now that somebody drew up on the whiteboard. And so making it feel comfortable has been super important to me so that it does feel like my other home where I can go hang out if I want to.
Oh, it sounds that way. So basically you take like a picture of a medical office and every decision you make is, what can I do opposite to that?
Do different and better than this.
Do different and better.
Yeah. I was curious to hear, I know you said about your bias, and I guess I assume that you're talking about your training history and counseling. I was wondering, how long were you at NAU?
Yeah, I started working at NAU in 1989.
Come on.
A long time. Yeah. So I primarily was working with students in the student affairs departments. I ran orientation for new students and family members at NAU for a really long time. I worked for undergraduate admissions. I worked for enrollment services. And in 2010, the woman who was running the counseling department was going on sabbatical. And so she called and said, hey, would you teach a couple of classes while I'm on sabbatical? And I said, ooh, I'd love that. I love teaching. And I had stepped in and done part-time kind of gigs. So I did that. She ended up leaving the university. So I got a 50% appointment in student affairs and a 50% appointment with counseling, educational psychology in the College of Education, and started running that program over there. So I did that until I retired. And then I kept teaching part-time. I quit teaching maybe in 22.
In 22?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That was way more recent, I thought. Yeah.
Yeah.
We understand NAU to be Harvard of the West that produces these alumni that are often superior in intellect and wit
so where's your degree
charm.
from?
NAU.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's where I thought that was going.
And that's what we were saying is that it's interesting that we were somehow able to slide through there.
That was a really fumbly way to ask. How long have they been calling it Harvard of the West?
Yeah, when did that first start?
It's not a new term to you, right?
No. And I tell you what, when very, very early on, when I was started at NAU and I was really super young, I did a little bit of recruitment for NAU. So I went on a couple of recruitment trips. And people started calling it the diamond in the desert because people would start learning about NAU. And people who really wanted and still want a pure undergraduate college residential experience. That's what NAU offers. And it's a fabulous place for people to go to school.
Yeah.
Diamond in the desert.
Diamond in the desert.
I have a feeling you just created a new hashtag.
Yeah.
There we go.
Diamond
You've seen
in the
it
desert.
change a little bit over the years.
Yeah, say that again.
The diamond in the desert.
Yeah.
You've seen it change a little bit over the years.
Absolutely. So much growth.
Yeah.
So much growth. I think there was like 13,000 students on campus when I started.
What were some of your favorite classes to teach? What did you like teaching?
Well, let's see. I really, for some reason, enjoy teaching research. So counseling research, really kind of getting down and dirty and helping students understand all of the components of that. So I enjoy that.
Yeah, you like students being uncomfortable. You like watching students struggle.
There we go.
Get sick jollies out of that, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the last time I taught that class, I was already full-time with Cancer Support Community Arizona. And when they called and said, we need somebody to teach this class, I said, okay, but I want them to research cancer. And they said, you can do that. And so it was really interesting because we have a student organization at NAU now called CSC at NAU. And this was a pilot program from national headquarters in Washington, D.C., who somehow heard about my relationship with NAU, of course, and said, if anybody can make this happen on a university campus, we'll let Cindy try it because she's already got all that going on. So we got funding and started the student club because young adult numbers of cancer patients are raising drastically right now. So 21 to 40, kind of the age range that we're looking at, maybe 19 to 40, but a lot of growth in cancer diagnosis there. And so I had this club that was going to start at NAU with two pretty strong goals. One, to support students, faculty, and staff who have cancer or who have a family member who has cancer, and one, to start a support group on campus for students. And so the research class did pilot focus groups and individual one-on-one interviews with students to find out what would that look like for us to do that successfully at NAU. So we had 4 or 5 different teams that went out and did the research on the topic, what the growth of cancer in young adults and what other places around the country are doing for those people, and then made their recommendations and presented their findings. And then I turned all those findings over to the intern teams, the public health interns at CSC, and they created then the education program that we took to NAU. So it was wonderful. So I love just being able to first of all, giving students real life experiences, and students then in class sharing, I had cancer as a kid, or I have this other chronic illness, and it feels kind of like the same thing that you're talking about. So it wasn't too big of a stretch to make that happen in a counseling research class, right?
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
It's incredible to hear.
Yeah, like when we say Harvard of the West, it's just an automatic joke, but Cindy kind of legitimately...
Yeah, you actually give it some credence.
Legitimately levels up NAU.
Yeah, you described like your position at NAU, the research stuff really sets you up to sort of maybe work into the program and build these connections with other students. You were describing having a connection to Tuba City also that came from that. And I was also wondering, in what other ways did the counseling bias inform maybe your approach to developing the program up here?
So I'm responsible, Northern Arizona is responsible for Prescott, Payson, north to the border, and east and west to the border. So it's a huge landmass that we have. And so we obviously can't be in person in Prescott and Sedona and Kingman and Page and Chinle all on the same day, right? But because of the silver lining of COVID, we're on Zoom. And so when we go into a community, we go in and ask, what do you want? These are the things that we're already offering. So I can bring you our Tuesday morning Harmony Yoga class from 10:30 to 11:30. It's already happening. But if this community doesn't get into yoga and want yoga, then that doesn't make sense. But we've got a 15 minutes of movement class later on Tuesday afternoon that could possibly be it. Or Zooming in a support group could be it. Or one of my very favorite classes that we offer is called Forest Bathing. And that is this intentional Japanese practice of going out and celebrating the healing power of nature and what can nature do to us. And I think we can replicate that in most communities. And so if it's a walking group, then who can we find in that community to lead the walking group? Maybe it's an education piece that people are interested in. Last week we offered a class on the gastrointestinal side effects of chemo, right? And so anybody who's getting chemo is interested in that. So it's now recorded. We could Zoom that in anywhere around the state so that people can get that information. But it's not up to me to decide, what do the cancer patients in Chinle want or the cancer patients at IHS in Winslow want. It's about going in and asking them, fill out a survey, give us that feedback, and then we'll try it and see if it works. We recently started an in-person support group in Sedona because that was the feedback that we'd gotten, that people wanted an in-person support group. They didn't want to do support groups on Zoom.
Yeah.
They wanted to be in the room where they can hug one another and be there and see each other eyeball to eyeball.
Yeah. Very Sedona-esque.
Yeah.
I'm curious, maybe an extension of Cody's question, how did you get interested in the counseling psychology side of things? So, we got to learn a little bit about your connection to NAU, even it starting way back when. Yeah, what was your interest initially? Did you get into that in Texas? Yeah, how'd you go that direction?
Yeah, good question. So my undergraduate degree is in political science, and I fully intended to go to law school. That's what I thought I was going to do.
Very
or at least
counseling.
that's what
very counseling
exactly,
oriented.
yeah. That's what my dad thought I was going to do anyway, right? And so Rich, my husband, got a job here in Flagstaff at NAU, so we moved to Flagstaff, and there's no law school in Flagstaff, right?
Turns out Harvard of the West.
Yeah, no law school in Flagstaff. So I went to school. So I did a couple other jobs first, and eventually, like many people, ended up working at NAU. And my boss at the time said, "You need to have a master's degree to do the work that you're doing here. So we're going to let you go ahead and take the job, but we need you to start working on a master's degree." So I looked around at all the options, and I decided the one thing that I really wanted to work on, because of the job that I had at the time, was my listening skills, that I really needed to beef up my listening skills and do a better job with that. And so as I read the different master's degrees that were available, I decided to pursue a master's degree in counseling. And so that was kind of my introduction to it. And my doctorate is in educational leadership, teaching, and learning, because that's where I did most of my work with the administrative side of my job at NAU. But I've always really had a heart for the counseling piece, and I love the counseling faculty at NAU. I hope you guys both had a good experience with everybody over there who was teaching your classes at NAU, and I really just enjoyed that a lot. I kept kind of making myself available to fill in for somebody who was on sabbatical or who was traveling or just needed somebody for 2 weeks or something like that. And I've always enjoyed teaching. It's just a component that I love to see the growth of people. Are you familiar with StrengthsQuest? That's a psychological kind of personality inventory. And StrengthsQuest told me that one of my top 5 strengths is called maximizer. And so I love to take something that's good and help it become the very best that it can be.
Yeah.
And so that teaching really aligns itself with that. And so does counseling.
Yeah. Strengths, judgment? I forget. What was mine?
Your second was judgment.
Judgment.
It should be your first. I can't imagine what would be above that.
Cody, one of my strengths is judgment.
Yeah.
And so Cody talks about how good I am at judging people.
Yeah. He's a really good judger. Not a maximizer. He's like a minimizer.
Ooh.
So
Through judgment.
I'm curious, what did your dad think of counseling different from law degree?
Yeah, well, good thing he loves me a lot.
Yeah,
right?
he
loves me
Cindy.
a lot. Yeah, so, I'm sure he was disappointed for a little while because I truly did give off the vibe that this was what I was going to do. But I've learned over the course of my adult life that I'm not a really good arguer. So it's probably good that I didn't become an attorney.
How did it go then? If you're not a very good arguer, how was your undergrad degree? Because poli-sci, it's like stating opinions and how did that? Did you enjoy the classes and how did it go?
I really did enjoy it, but I worked in the department. I got to know all the faculty members. This was long before computers were invented, and I was typing for everybody, typing. And so I got to know people really well. And I remember the elections that were going on when I was in school and setting up debates on campus and that kind of stuff.
Oh, did you have local politicians come in? Or?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So I did enjoy my classes a lot, but I also I think I'm an adapter. And so I've really adapted and enjoyed everything that I've done and studied along the way. So
that's what comes across. Like, it seems like, connection, adapting.
Yeah.
So you typing for other people.
Yeah.
That was kind of like a trait that's manifested itself throughout your life.
Yeah, maybe so.
Like you just kind of like do things and then build connections from that.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, I spent I think this summer between my junior and senior year undergrad, I house sat for one of the poli-sci faculty members who traveled all over the world during the summer.
Not bad.
Kept his corgi dogs, Yeah. And his pool.
That can either go really well or really badly.
Yeah. I didn't kill anybody while I was there.
Or the dogs.
Or dogs.
Yeah. No.
The canines are intact.
It was okay. Yeah. I kind of loved on the dog because the dog's name was Nudge, and that means pest. So I kind of felt sorry for the dog. I'm like, I'll love you. I'm sorry your family named you Pest.
Little nudgy poo. Little pesty poo.
What is it? Nudge.
Yeah.
And
I think it's Yiddish.
Yiddish.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Nudge.
Nudge.
Oh, this is good. It's good for me to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For judgment.
For judgment, yeah. You can then refer to
You
people
can
as
use
nudges.
it all the time.
This person is quite a nudge.
This is incredible. And so you also had in mind leaving poli-sci that you were going to go to law school.
Yeah.
But were you aware that most of that decision-making felt like externally motivated, if it was motivated by your dad, or were you interested in becoming a lawyer at that juncture?
I think for a while I thought I was interested in it, but I didn't ever really miss it. I didn't ever feel like I had taken the wrong path.
Yeah. So then speak to that. I think that's the thing that I'm trying to ask around is you seem to have this awareness, even when you talk about going from NAU, you mentioned reading the ad to the CSCAZ, and it just sticking out to you. You seem like you have this ability to see a path and then manifest it.
Yeah.
Can you add words to that at all? How'd you do that then? How do you do it now?
I feel like, I don't know if everybody can do this, and maybe this is just everybody's story, but I feel like I can look back. That one thing opened a door to the next thing that was going to happen for me, and I was ready for the next thing because I'd done the past thing, And I absolutely love that. And I think if we were having this conversation 10 years ago and 15 years ago and 20 years ago and 25 years ago, I would tell you, this is the best job for me. I am like in the best place for myself right now. I absolutely love what I'm doing. And so maybe many times I've called myself a Pollyanna. I think I choose to see the good side of things. I choose to see that there's opportunities. Maybe when a door is closed, that can be an opportunity to do something different and to challenge myself in a new way. And so, probably looking perfectly honestly, when you stay at one employer for 30 years, I probably wasn't learning a whole lot new at NAU. Toward the end of my career, I wasn't doing new things and challenging myself and other people in new ways. You kind of get into a rut. And so you go run this nonprofit agency, which, 10 years ago, I would have looked at you like, are you crazy? Like, nobody's going to hire me to do that. But they weren't looking, of course they were looking at my skill set a little bit, but mostly they were taking advantage of the fact that I was planted here in Flagstaff for a really long time and knew people. And so they sent me to nonprofit school at ASU Lodestar so that I could learn how to run a nonprofit agency. And so that was easy to do. It was easy to pick up that part of it. It's very difficult for me to do fundraising because I've never had to raise money before. And I was maybe part of the reason why my dad loved me so much. I never asked for money, right? I was that independent kid that was going to figure it out and do it on my own. And so, I've brought that along with each time that I've done something different. And I've had so much growth since 2021, since joining Cancer Support Community Arizona. And that's a thing that I can share with the student interns that are in the office, whether they're undergraduate, master's, or doc students, I can share with them, be open to newness, be open to change, be open to why do I keep seeing this job posting? I'm not looking for a job right now. Why do I keep seeing this? And what is that little niggle in the back of my head that's saying, pick up the phone and call and just ask?
Sitting with you, you have like an energy and an enthusiasm to you. It doesn't strike me that like barriers would necessarily strike you down.
Right. That's true.
Yeah. When you say like, I wouldn't have had the language maximizer. It very much makes sense. And it seems like you've been presented with a lot of opportunities and you've seen them as opportunities and taken those steps.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that change is an opportunity.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. And so you either choose to do it or you choose to ignore it, you know? And so it's fun when you choose to do it. I was mostly fully retired. I was still teaching a class or two at NAU. So I had that I could continue doing, but I'm collecting retirement from the state of Arizona. And so if this didn't work, I didn't have to stick with it. It wasn't like I desperately needed this job for the income. So I get to love it for all of the pieces of it that I love. And not because it's paying, you know, something. And that's so different in a second career than my first career, because I really felt like I had to think making myself amenable in such a way that I could get pay raises and new jobs and that kind of stuff. And it doesn't cross my mind at Cancer Support Community ever.
Yeah, you're kind of free from all that in that
It's
sense.
so cool.
Yeah.
Like, it's so different than Cindy 1.0.
Yeah. What do you find most rewarding? What is most fulfilling for you in your current role?
Definitely the one-on-one conversations that I get to have with people. And so the CEO that hired me moved on to a new and different career path. And we have a CEO who's new at Cancer Support Community. She's been there just a little bit over a year now. And so she spent a lot of time in that first year getting to know us. And so she was trying to figure out, who is this Lone Ranger up there in Flagstaff? She doesn't get to interact with me in person every day like she does with everybody else. As I was telling her the things that feed me the most and the things that I get most excited about, I said, if we have a patient that's in ICU and I have to miss a meeting with you because I'm over in ICU, I'm going to miss the meeting with you because that patient is a lot more important to me than you are today. And so we'll catch up eventually, and I'll text you and let you know that I'm not going to be at the meeting. But it's an opportunity on somebody's very worst day to be there and to be with them and to support them. And I've got credentialing at NAH, Flag Medical Center here in town, because I'm a volunteer over there. I've been doing that for many years. So I didn't get to go in because of CSC. I got to go in because I'd already done all the background stuff and so I wear my volunteer badge and my Cancer Support Community badge when I'm over there, and people are like, come on in, you know, and so I can go in. And just like in oncology, because of COVID, people can't have their families with them at oncology anymore. There's so many less people at the hospital. And so to drop in and be there, to hear somebody's story, to know that what's going on with their family or something that they need or something that I can step in and bridge the gap of something that needs to be done, we can do all those kinds of things. Without a doubt, that's number one for me. With a very close number two of getting to educate all of the NAU students that I still get to educate because they come and do their internships with us.
Yeah. Okay, so you still got to maintain a little bit of a teaching.
I do.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Every day I do. Yep.
Very cool.
What's the verdict on this younger generation? Cody and I are the old men now.
Yeah.
Look at these kids these days.
Yeah.
No Country for Old Men. Yeah.
Ooh. Yeah.
That's Cody's
That
perspective.
was a brutal movie.
Yeah.
Way
to throw that out there. That really fits the tone and tenor.
Let's just bring this back down to earth. Maybe a little lower.
Okay. Yeah.
Sorry about that, Cindy.
That's okay. We'll go back to.
Dan wants you to judge the younger generation right now. If you don't have an idea, he does.
I actually was going to get a more positive perspective.
Oh, there we go.
I was actually angling to get something different.
Yeah. Not a bunch of nudges.
Not a bunch of nudges.
Definitely not.
Yeah,
Definitely
proactive.
not.
What's your take on them? I'd actually be really curious your perspective on the students you work with.
Yeah. So I really set a tone in the beginning that We have this amazing opportunity to do this work with people who have just gotten the worst news maybe they've ever gotten in their life. Yeah. And so you will create out of this education opportunity that's been given to you what it ends up being. I can assist with that. If you tell me you want this thing to be a part of your experience, I can make that happen. But I cannot make you learn, and I cannot make it be good, bad, or indifferent for you. You have to invest yourself. So what I have found is with the students who pop their head in my door and say, okay, I'm done with that project. Give me another project. I need something to do. Or even better, I learned this at Oncology today, and I feel like this is a need. Can we start doing this? 99 times out of 100, I say yes. Put a little proposal together for me and show me exactly what you're going to do to go from X to Y. And then, yeah, we can do that. And so I let them know they kind of have their own fate in their hands. And so I've had interns in there since fall 21. So however many semesters and academic years that is, some come up for a semester and some come for an academic year. Every single intern at every single level has stepped up except for one. One person over the years was just happy to sit up front and do her homework and not invest herself.
Yeah, clearly the exception, right?
It's clearly the exception. Yeah. And so my experience has been really good. Mm-hmm. But over the course of my life, and I would tell every counseling student this too, is that as I raise the bar, people come with it. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to raise the bar every week so that you're learning more and more and more and challenging yourself more and more and more, because I'm a teacher at heart, and that's what I want you to do. Yeah. And so they know from day one, orientation, onboarding to CSCAZ, that that's my expectation. And I can help you do it, but I can't make it happen. So those that I just find everybody steps up to the plate and goes up with the bar. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I love that. Oh, yeah. But I think you have to expect that of people too. Mm-hmm. I think you have to let people know.
You kind of set that, huh?
I'm a maximizer. I'm going to help you become the very best you can be while you're here, mm-hmm. And if you don't choose to do that, then you don't get to stay here.
Well, you're one of those incredible people that your reputation, like you don't either, sitting with you, your demeanor and presentation doesn't come across as like hierarchical or demeaning.
Nope.
And you don't have a reputation in the community for that. So you hold expectations, but your compassion is so visible that it doesn't come across as being unfair or cruel.
Yeah. And I certainly would never mean it that way. Absolutely. So I want them, I think your education years, whether it's undergraduate and grad or whatever people do, I think those should be some of the best years, right? Mm-hmm. Those should be where you find yourself and where you challenge yourself and where you fall down and fail big time, mm-hmm. but can get back up and mm-hmm. become a really huge success. And so, I don't think anybody would describe CSC in Northern Arizona as hierarchical. I really want to be everybody's partner mm-hmm. in there. I think some of the interns probably know that I have a DR at the beginning of my name, but I don't. None of them call me that. Everybody calls me Cindy. We only use the Dr. Payne on grant applications that we think it will be helpful to bring some money in, but otherwise I'm Cindy to everybody.
Yeah, no need to add that pretense there, huh?
Yeah, no, not at all. I didn't get it for that reason. Yeah.
Yeah, so like I mentioned to you, we were chatting a little bit before we started recording, and I mentioned we always like to ask people, how do you define your relationship to Northern Arizona, your connection to this area? So would you be willing to, in a handful of sentences, define how you connect to this area?
Yeah, absolutely. I grew up in Houston. I am not a big city girl. I went to school in Dallas. I'm not a big city girl. I grew up very close to the ocean, Galveston. We went to Galveston all the time. I've always called myself a water baby. And I love the outdoors. I have just always loved the outdoors. When Rich and I moved here, we got to know a whole lot of people here. We got married a couple of years after we moved here, and we took everybody back to Conroe, Texas, which is just north of Houston. And it's, I don't know, 50 feet above sea level or 30 feet above sea level or something like that. But it's this massive pine forest. And people who had all grown up in Arizona said, I thought pine trees only grew above 6,000 feet. I didn't even know pine trees could grow at sea level, you know? And pine trees are very different in Texas than they are in Coconino County. But I absolutely, there's nothing I don't like about the outdoors. First time I came out to visit Rich after he moved out here to go to work for NAU, he picked me up at the airport in Phoenix and described to me how the drive from Phoenix to Flagstaff topographically was the same as driving from central Mexico to central Canada, that you experience that much difference in the topography. And so from the very first times that I was introduced to Flagstaff, I recognized that. Our house sits right up against Mount Eldon on the east side of town, and so we're on that pipeline right there and a lot of the trails, and I take the dogs up there. Every single day, I walk an hour before work, every single day, no matter what the weather is. I love being outdoors, and so when I discovered this forest bathing concept from Japan, I thought, oh, we're going to incorporate that as a healing technique at Cancer Support Community, because it's what I've been doing for myself and my kids and my family forever, just without the title, right? And so I really relate to just the beauty of Flagstaff, the beauty of Northern Arizona. I love going up on the reservation. I get to go up to Tuba City now for Navajo and to Kikotsmovi for Hopi frequently. And I've gotten the full tour of all three mesas on Hopi, and just the stark beauty, the cultural differences that you find across our region. I love the fact that people will take me under their wing and teach me all the cultural things about this area. I feel quite envious sometimes of the cultural depth that people who were born and raised here have experienced. And so I try to, learn about that and experience some of that and understand myself and the world and other people better as a result of that. So those are kind of the things that I really appreciate about Northern Arizona that have made me who I am now in 2024, and I'm so appreciative for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you feel like it shaped you a bit.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, we so appreciate you being willing to take time, come out and share it with us and share your incredible story with us.
Thank you so much. I've really enjoyed this time too.
Yeah, thanks for swinging by.
Yeah.
All right. Well, the Cindy Payne has left the building.
She has left the building. She's on the road to recovering her reputation now, having sat with us.
I think she has plenty to draw from, though. Her resume compensates quite a bit for joining Beyond Flag.
Yeah, big time. Yeah. Big time. Man, what was that like?
She's impressive. There was a point at which where it was like, it's so interesting. She was talking about getting people to live up to potential or expectation.
Yeah.
And she is so kind and generous and gracious. And so she's not like a typical person, but when she labeled her strength as a maximizer, it was obvious how that fits, because I think she just raises the bar for herself and people around her, but in such a loving, caring, compassionate way.
Yeah.
So that's the thing that stood out to me. And then she went into a little bit of detail. We kind of threw out the question of, what does she think of the youth today?
Yeah. Yeah.
And she just talks so positively and all the potential that she sees, and how beneficial it has been to work with some interns that are part of that younger generation. Mm-hmm. And when she did that, it was just evident of, I think, a way she moves through the world, where she kind of looks towards what potential is there rather than labeling what is lacking, and gets excited about it and draws that out of people.
Yeah. Yeah, she has so much enthusiasm and excitement. She's a real achiever, right? Like, I think we had this conversation not while we were recording, but we were talking Enneagram a little bit. And she was into the idea of the Enneagram. And it seemed pretty obvious or on the surface, but that she would fall in the land of the 3.
Yeah. Yeah, didn't she put us on the spot. She said, what would we guess her Enneagram to be?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that one felt pretty...
That was pretty easy.
Yeah.
3.
Yeah, it's kind of, what's Dan? Judge. 5. He's a 5. Mixing those up. Judge Dan.
She's clearly achieving a lot and has achieved a lot.
Totally.
And does it in a pretty like egalitarian, compassionate way, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she really seems able to harness people's energy, her own energy, and bring people together to get stuff done. She's open to opportunity and says yes to things.
Yeah, I was going to say, what stuck out to you that made it obvious that a 3 was at least a consideration in terms of Enneagram?
Yeah, I think of the way that she talked about her own work history, the way she talked about her educational history, and then just like her ideas for going forward. Mm-hmm. She gets stuff done. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, she's a doer.
Yeah. It's incredible. I thought it was really neat too that she was able to draw upon her counseling history and training to also apply that to her current context.
Yeah, and she chose that because she had ended up in administration, right? She was initially going to get that law degree, but ends up going into administration stuff. And then she needed a graduate degree, so she looked around. She's like, what one's going to help me be better? And she said she just wanted to grow the skill of listening, so she went into counseling. How about Cindy?
Go Cindy. I'm a fan.
Yeah.
Big fan. Big time fan.
Yeah, so go check out CSCNA. Help them out, support them in whatever way possible, and then why don't you take us out by shouting us out?
No doubt. You can always find us on the interwebs or at www.beyondflag.com, flag spelled
FLG.
Same with our IG Beyond, but there's an underscore in between the Beyond and the flag. But flag
FLG.
also scored FLG.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can check out many of our other shows or podcasts up there. We got Quick and Nerdies. We got Crossing the Chasm with Brian C. Peterson, or the build-up from last year with Molly Seidel's build-up to the Olympic trials.
Yeah. All right, well, take care.
Lovies. I was going to ask, I don't know when you said that you taught the research class, Dan responded with a downshifting, And what grade would you have given that in the counseling process class?
Yeah, Cody actually asks me to refer to him as doctor.
Yeah. Just in this one relationship, though. That's
all the time.
That's the only one. Yeah.
Dr. Nudge.
Dr. Nudge.
Yeah, that's Dan. Actually, he's Dr. Nudge.
Oh no, she beat me
Pesty
to
Dan
it.
over here. Yeah, it's Dr. Nice. Yeah.
Cindy, you're now my new favorite person in the entire world. Dr. Nudge.
Dr. Nudge.
Dr. Bayless will be now known as Dr. Nudge.
I'm down with Nudge. Not it's a pretty fair title.